selling to the employees made the most sense to me. And again, because the employees know this business the best, they've invested their life's work to it.
Hey there, and welcome to Under the Roof, the official podcast of Baker Roofing Company. I'm Todd Kavanaugh.
And I'm Matt Elban, and we're here to connect the dots between field and office, leadership and crew, values and action.
In each episode, we dive into the stories, lessons, and updates that matter to our team.
From safety and career growth to company milestones and good old-fashioned storytelling, it's all about living out what makes Baker, Baker. Let's get into it.
Hey there, and welcome back to Under the Roof.
I'm Matt Elban.
And I'm Todd Kavanaugh. Today, we're sitting down with someone you all know well, Mark Lee, CEO of Baker Roofing.
Mark's story is one that really deserves and defines what this company is all about. From starting out on the roof crews over 25 years ago to leading the company today, he has been at the center of some of the biggest decisions in Baker Roofing's history.
And one of those defining decisions, well, recently it's been the move to employee ownership. We'll get into the origin story of ESOP, Mark's philosophy on shared success, and what it means to steward a company that now belongs to more than 1,000 people.
Welcome, Mark. We appreciate you being with us today.
Glad to be with you guys. Thank you for having me.
So I always like to ask the first question, something we always like to know. What is the last book you read and what did you take away from it?
I'm just getting started with a book called The Mission, which it comes from a magazine I read that has suggested books to read, and it's regarding the CIA. So I've always enjoyed the history of the CIA and how politics and all that stuff works. So that's one I started. One I've just finished, for an added bonus to you, is Unscripted, which is a story of the Redstone family, which are the owners or former owners of Paramount and CBS, which is a very remarkable story, a little uncomfortable to read at times, about the interactions between family and stockholders. But very interesting read, fairly disturbing at times. And it's part of the reason why I feel like corporate America has some work to do.
Fair enough. Yeah, there's I bet you there's some stories in both of those that that probably keep you on the edge of your seat and also just pique your interest in the general philosophy of how people make decisions and what those decisions impact and how far that impact can reach. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing those, The Mission and Unscripted. I'll be making sure to add them to my Amazon wish list for people to get me at Christmas. So
it's growing.
That's right. It is growing
every
month. So, Mark, you were really the driving force behind exploring the ESOP option for Baker. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about maybe the light bulb moment when you first thought this could work for us?
Yeah, Matt, it really goes back to my peer group. I have a number of people in my peer group that have looked at options for their businesses. And the origin of this goes to the point of succession. If you look back to how Prentice handled things with me, John, and Dylan, Prentice and Frank, I should say, it started well before we became owners. It was a 10-year, 15-year process to develop us into being ready to take on that responsibility. So I looking at ways to transfer the business to the next generation, or what do you do with the next generation, is something that's been on my mind, because Prentice started on this about the same time as what I am now at my age. So that's the origin of the original thought of what are the options, and exploring the options. I have some friends that went through private equity options, and then one in particular went through the ESOP transition. And having observed the before and afters of the private equity world and the before and afters of ESOP, just felt like it was a better option for us and our personality.
Yeah, it seems to fit better with the culture of Baker Roofing Company. I'm sure people have heard some stories about private equity ownership transitions and how that can maybe be a detriment to the company in general at times. And so I'm excited for what this ESOP leads us into, and certainly appreciative of the opportunity to help steward it.
I'm excited.
Mark, I've been here a long time. I think you've been here a little bit longer. And in fact, I think just this week we emailed out a nice picture of yourself with a couple of our guys here from maybe 21 years ago or so, and I've got my stories. I think probably everybody has heard my junior safety buddy story by now. But you've been here, you've worked up on crews, and you worked your way. Now you're CEO. What was one of those unexpected experiences or little stories that may have happened along the way? And it could be related to the ESOP, or it could be something that is just really funny and gives us a chuckle. What was one of those unexpected moments?
Todd, when you bring that up, something pops in my head, and it goes back to my days as a project manager. And I was responsible for a re-roofing project of a state building that I often passed. I passed for probably 20-something years on my way home from work, downtown Raleigh. And it was during the summertime, and it was a perfectly clear day. I mean, not a cloud in the sky, probably 75 degrees, perfect day for roofing. And I get a phone call that there's water all over the building. From the first floor down to from the top floor down to the bottom. And I'm thinking to myself, how is that possible? So I get to the job site, and it turns out that we had not done a very good temporary tie-in because we expected the forecast of the entire week to be good. And they had one of those giant chillers on top of the roof that backed up. It was pouring water onto that roof like crazy. So it was a difficult lesson learned about the importance of doing a great tie-in regardless of what the forecast is, and change my habits. And I hope that everybody hearing this will learn from that and not have to go through a similar experience, because paying attention to details every day was the message that I got that day. And I don't think I've ever had that problem again.
Yeah, I remember when I started way back decades ago in commercial service, that water doesn't just only come from the clouds on top of a roof. Other things leak. Well, Mark, you and I were having a conversation the other day in your office, and you'd mentioned one of your friends that had been through this ESOP process, that had been a bit of I would say, inspiration for you to consider this for Baker. What did you see happening there that made you think that Baker Roofing employees deserved the same type of opportunity?
It's a good question, Todd. So I'm actually serve on the board of that company and have been a part of the ESOP there for the last 5 years. It's been good to see that the management team has stayed intact, that the strategy has continued, that they continue to grow and get better. It's been very little disruption to their day-to-day. However, they have gotten better. They've gotten bigger. Their value of their stock is now in excess of what it was before they did the transaction. So it's inspiring to see what can be done and what's happening over there. And I hope that we can follow their footsteps. It's a nice path to follow. And I'm excited about the ability for people who work here for a period of time to see the fruits of their labor in terms of retirement. And that's just important to me. Instead of some third party getting 90% of those funds, that it goes to everybody. I just think that's a nice thing for our people to have access to.
I think I can speak for everybody in the company and show level of appreciation for that decision. Certainly excited about what the future looks like. So, Mark, when you first brought this idea to John and Dylan, what was that conversation like? Were they on board immediately, or did it take some conversations?
First of all, let me say those are two fantastic partners. John and Dylan have been great to work with over the years, and we don't always agree, but we always are respectful of each other. And I always appreciate getting their perspective. They have different perspectives, and they're rich, they're thoughtful, and I appreciate them. And the same goes for Prentice, Frank, and Woody. I've always appreciated their perspectives, and their input into the ESOP and their involvement agreement that it was a good move for Baker Roof was supported for me and for everyone. But the conversations was, we're interested. We'll look at it. And I think they were curious to know more. And as they learned more, I think it fell into a common theme for us, which is we want to continue the culture. We want to continue the legacy that we were trusted to continue. And we want to continue to be involved with business. So it allowed all three of those things for all three of us. And we're excited that we made that decision. I think they're excited as well.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah, I think one of the things, we've obviously had the opportunity to speak to John and Dylan about this, and now you on the podcast, and seen a pretty consistent alignment on the why, that really drove the what between the partners. So, one of the things that stuck out in that same conversation that we had, Mark, is, and you even alluded to it a little bit here about Paramount, is you mentioned being disappointed in some of what you saw in corporate America today. What bothered you about maybe a story in that Paramount story, or about what you view in some of the organizations in corporate America today? And what did you want to do differently at Baker?
Todd, first of all, I think a lot of these companies do a great job. And if I sat in their chair, I might make the same decision. So I don't want to judge what other people do, because I don't know enough to really be able to do that. And it's not my responsibility. But what I will tell you in general is, I think the responsibility of leadership, whether it be CEO, president, or officers, is to serve. And that means to serve the customer, to serve the employees, to serve the community. And I see a lot of greed, at least portrayed in books or in magazines, on the news, of sacrificing, doing the right thing for money, or prestige, or for power, or for recognition. And, the reality of it is, I don't sit here today without the work of those 1,000 people you mentioned earlier, and several that have retired, several have left to go do other things. It's not possible without those people. So it's not about me. It's not about my role or title. It's about us. And I think being a good steward of that responsibility is just something I've become very passionate about in recent years. Prentice asked us to make a promise, or I made a promise to his grandfather to keep the company going. He shared that with me, and I made him a promise that we would do the same. And I think part of the reason why he feels so passionate about it is the people that commit their careers and their lives to Baker Roofing Company, and giving them something they can be excited about showing up for, and something they could be proud to tell their family and friends that they're a part of. And I just think that's important. I think that the world needs people to do the right thing and work well together and to serve. And I think our platform here at Baker Roofing Company as a service business was something that everybody you ever meet will need in terms of keeping their house or their business dry, is a great opportunity and a blessing for all of us to be able to work in this industry and to serve as we are asked to do.
Yeah, the idea of service and being a servant leader really resonates well with me, and I think that's a fantastic approach to business. It's one that I would probably agree with you. I don't necessarily see a ton of that in corporate America, but it's certainly something that I've always appreciated about working here at Baker, and I know Todd has expressed that to me in the past as well, and that level of leadership here has been fantastic.
I'll add one other thing I'd like to mention to everybody is the fundamentals. We had an episode not too long ago of a new hire that had some authority, and the behavior was not ideal to our culture. And I was so happy and proud that we had people who were willing to speak up and say, I'm not sure this fits what you intended. And I don't know that would have happened 10 years ago. And I actually had some situations in my career where people did not speak up that really bothered me from the standpoint that they didn't feel comfortable telling me for whatever reason. So I took that personally as that I did not create an environment where it was easy for people to tell me what they thought or tell me the truth. And I need to get better at that. So I'm happy to see that the fundamentals and the communication of our expectation is to be challenged and to be corrected when behaviors are not what they need to be. I really am thankful that we're reaching that point, a tipping point in our culture to where that's the norm. That's not my responsibility or something they should already know. Those types of things, we need your help to see things that aren't right or things that are broken, to fix them. Oftentimes we should know, but we don't. And it's good to know that people are comfortable telling us.
Yeah, for sure. Mark, the ESOP structure that you guys have gone with here is pretty unique. Many companies, maybe even most companies, don't voluntarily share ownership with their employees. Some ESOP structures seem to be a percentage of the company is ESOP. The balance is still in the hands of whomever. But what drove you personally to want to see Baker take this path that we did?
First of all, I have 2 children. Most of you know I have 2 sons who are in the business. So you have to think through also as a family business, you want your kids to be in your role one day. And I think part of the decision here is that we're of the size and a maturity level where your skills and your work ethic, habits, and your capabilities trump your bloodline and in terms of what's right for the company. So I think going to an ESOP was what we just felt was right for the company. The next step for the company to continue on this way to the next 100 years is that the best people within the organization, people who work hard, people who earn it, will move up and be responsible for the company is what our objective is. And that's open to everybody. If you want to aspire to the next level of the business, we should create paths for that to happen for people. And then again, you're limited by your abilities to work hard, your skills, how much you put into your own value.
Yeah. And sum that up with opportunity, right? I mean, that's what you guys are allowing folks to do. Have an opportunity to succeed, an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to be in ownership. It's exciting.
I'd add to that also that the market's good for us at the moment for this. There's a lot of transition happening with ownership across the country. There's structures in place. I think our story will play well with customers. I think our story will play well with future recruits. I think it plays well with existing people to, hey, it's worth investing in this vision of what we're trying to do with growing our business and adding services to customers. And I think it positions us well for what the future holds.
Yeah, I think I've heard over and over again, and I think it's credible and authentic, like this transition to ESOP is a really great opportunity for our employees. But I also think that over time, we'll see that it's been really good for our customers as well in the way that we're able to remain agile and meet their needs. And so I think we're going to see some nice fruit from that too, especially in today's market with some of the other players in the market. Mark, a fun thing that happens that I've noticed is when we hop on like Teams calls or Zoom calls with other organizations, if it's your first one in the meeting, oftentimes what'll happen is we'll go around the Zoom call and we'll introduce ourselves. Well, time and time again, on the Baker side, somebody will say, oh, I do such and such at Baker and I've been here for 12 years. And somebody will say, I do such and such at Baker and I've been here for 18 years or 20 years or 25 years or 9 years. And what I get from people oftentimes, feedback from people outside of the organization, they're always amazed at how long the tenure is of the average Baker employee. I think that speaks to a lot of things, of course. And you alluded to this before about it's not about a me at the executive level of leadership. It's about an us, everybody on the team in this mode of success and sharing in success. So, what does it mean to you now in thinking about all those people that have been here for 8, 9, 10, 7, 15, 20, 30 years? What does it personally mean for you that they'll now get to share in success? of the organization in a different way than they had previously?
It's gratifying. I think of a conversation I had with Vernon Garbett a while back, because we have folks that dedicate their career to us, going up and down ladders, working in the hot, working in the cold. And as you get older, to be able to continue to do that physically becomes a challenge for some people. And I think having the ESOP, along with what we do with a 401k and the matches that we do there, to allow people the freedom to change their roles or change what they do and be financially secure, is exciting to me. And also for all the others in different roles, just the longevity issue is I'm appreciative of people that trust us with their careers and trust me with taking care of their families. Trust us, a company, with that. They do have choices. We're aware that people are trying to recruit and hire people on a regular basis. And we feel compelled. We need to continue to treat people well, pay them well, take care of the benefits and things of that nature to continue to improve, to remain competitive. We have very talented people, and they have options, and we're thankful that people choose to stay and continue down the path and take that responsibility of creating a path that's attractive to them. Is a big responsibility for us to make sure we continue to fulfill.
It's interesting you mentioned the recruiting aspect. So I in my role, sometimes I get to have conversations with folks that we're looking at hiring, and I have had opportunities to talk to folks in the last, let's say, month about the fact that we're now an ESOP. I've had some people actually bring it up to me and say, "Hey, so I understand you guys are an ESOP, and I've heard you, Matt, talk about the company you've worked for a while, and I really want to be a part of that. I really want to be engaged in that, and I want to come work there." People are starting to want to come to a place like this, and the news is getting out, which is kind of fun. It's pretty exciting as well, and I certainly enjoy that. Makes that conversation easy, Mark, you mentioned feeling a different kind of responsibility now as a CEO versus when you were an owner. Can you maybe just walk us through that shift, at least the shift in your mind there, the feeling you have that's different?
Yeah, I think, Matt, that's a good question. I think I shared this with Todd a few days ago. When the CEO and you had partners, John Dillon, myself, Prentice, and Frank, when we made decisions, the impact of those decisions did impact other people, but at the end of the day, from a stock standpoint, it just impacted us. So it feels different to know that you have 1,100 people you're accountable to with that than it does when it's just 4 or 500. It just feels more different. Now, having said that, what I don't want to do is compromise on long-term strategy for short-term financial objectives. That's one of the things that I don't like about publicly traded companies, is that the 3-month business cycle to profitability often, in my mind, eliminates long-term strategies. I had a discussion this past week with a person who said that because their stock wasn't doing well, they were forced to make cuts. And his personal opinion was that those cuts might impact next year's performance. I don't want us to turn into a money-only mindset. I think strategy sometimes requires investment. Development of people sometimes requires patience. There's some things I don't want to change related to ownership or leadership, but also think the accountability factor of that I can't let things go that I might have let go in the past is there too. And I think there's a real pressure to balance those things I just mentioned between what do you tolerate versus what do you go ahead and take care of. And I think we all are feeling that, quite frankly. I don't think I'm unique in that. I think you all probably feel a little different. I'm hearing that from people that, hey, my role, my level of authority, my decision-making needs to change is what I think I'm hearing from everyone. And I don't think we're exempt from that. I think we're in the same boat.
Yeah, I think, this kind of leads to this concept of a word I've heard yourself use, I've heard John use, I've heard Dylan use, and others. The word is stewardship. And I think we're going to hear more and more about that word. And I'd love to kind of get your take on that word a little bit in terms of the context, really for all of us. I think all of us are stewards now, right? This isn't just hanging on one or two person's shoulders. And I think that's part of the beauty of an ESOP program. But can you speak a little bit towards how the shifts to ESOP, and this would be for all employees, like of shifting to this concept of stewardship of this company now?
Todd, I appreciate you asking that question. I think for me, stewardship means taking the responsibility you have to a level that you can't continue to do things at a convenience. You have to make some hard decisions. I think, and that sometimes those decisions are not fun. Sometimes those decisions are difficult, but I think that's good for us. Again, I think you have to balance patience and empathy with stewardship. And often, I think a lot of my decisions in the past have maybe been made a little bit too narrowly about maybe a particular situation versus the 10,000-foot view of things, or the greater good. Maybe it's an individual good versus a greater good. And I think stewardship really is probably working towards the greater good more than the individual good. And if that's a way to describe it.
Yeah. I'm showing my colors here a little bit, but I love history. And one of the things I had loved reading about was the Roman Empire. For whatever reason, I was just fascinated by it for a number of reasons. And one of the things that the Roman Empire did to succeed was their military strategy. And in their military strategy, to boil it down to a few things, it was about locking shields together and moving forward for success. And I think there's this new sense now in stewardship where we have a responsibility to lock our shield in place, right? Not just for our own benefit, because if one person fell out of their phalanx, then the whole thing could fall apart. And so I think stewardship is this concept, right? Where we have a responsibility to the person to our left and to our right, down the hall, in the cube, in the office, to do our job well. And it's not just about, as you alluded to, it's not just a financial thing, right? It's a decision on the small things and the big things to do the right thing for the person next to us, because we have that responsibility to each other. So I love this concept of stewardship, and I'd love to continue to elevate that word for us all here, because I think it'll all be to our own benefit, right? So
I'll add one thing to the definition for me is, and what I'm finding is that oftentimes the correct decision is not necessarily in my personal best interest, or from what I want to do, how I feel about it, it may not be aligned with what I might think is best for me. And I think that's where you reach true stewardship. Is it may be a bit uncomfortable. Maybe the financial impact of me is not ideal for me, but it's the right thing to do for the company and for others. And that's where I'm going with making difficult decisions. And I think to challenging myself and others to what's the correct decision for the greater good, and understanding that I'm flawed and I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm there often, but to be challenged by that consistently is how I would like to look at it and have others look at it.
Yeah, I certainly enjoy that word stewardship. I think of, taking care of something and leaving it in better condition than when you first got it is the idea of stewardship as well. And a lot of times we want to, as humans, make the easy decision, which many times isn't maybe the best decision, like you're alluding to. Ease and convenience sometimes get in the way of being a good steward of something, whether it's a business or, stewarding your family well or whatever. Ease and convenience can certainly get in the way of that. But I certainly appreciate those thoughts. Todd, I think I'm going to skip my next one because we really answered it. Which is great. So I like the flow of that. So let Todd jump back in with another question here.
So Mark, going back to that word ESOP, if you could fast forward 5 years and everything was what you hoped it would be, what do you think success looks like for us as a team? And what are you hoping to see? And that isn't necessarily looking for a share price here. We're, high level. What do you think that looks like if everything goes as it ought to over the course of the next 5 years?
Todd, appreciate that question. I think number one for me is that our culture is maintained, that we don't change our identity, that our reputation in the marketplace is as good or better than what it is now, and that our employees are as engaged and enthused about the business as they've ever been. I think if we're successful in creating an environment, those things can happen. We'll be having fun, and financial part of it will take care of itself.
Yeah, you kind of rolling right along through our questions here. This is great. My next one is super simple and really just kind of ties into the ending statement you made there. But for the employee who might still be skeptical, and maybe there are some that are still wondering, this sounds way too good to be true. Like there's no way that someone or a group of guys could get together and say, we want to turn this company into an employee-owned organization without catches and without things tied to it. What would you want them to know about your intentions and your commitment to make this work?
The way I'll answer that is that as an owner, eventually you sell. You sell to somebody. You can sell to a family member. You can gift it to a family member, but eventually you sell. And for me, selling to the employees made the most sense to me. And again, because the employees know this business the best, they've invested their life's work to it. And for them to reap the rewards similar to what we have reaped as owners, makes sense to me. I think, and when I speak to me, I think I'm speaking for John and Dylan and Prentice and Frank, is that people who commit their careers to us or extended family to us in terms of their commitment to the business, and them participating in ownership proportionally to how long they've been here and what they've done to make the company business better, just makes a lot of sense to me. And I prefer that than having a stranger own it and capture that equity value. Again, I feel like it's the right thing to do. And I think there is a movement in the country for privately held businesses to go down this route. And the reality of it is, all transparency, there are huge tax advantages to being ESOP that help create value for the employees and at a faster rate. So there's some incentives with it from the government that make some sense too.
I forget the exact number, but the consultant that was on about a month ago in the town hall, I think he mentioned somewhere between 6,000 and 7,000 companies in the United States are ESOP. And that shocked me as a number. I just assumed it was more. That's not that many organizations. So, what a privilege to be a part of this and steward it,
Yeah, I think it will grow. I talked to our consultant yesterday, and there were 2 or 3 more that have taken place in the state of North Carolina right now. So I think there's some companies' names that you would recognize once I sit come time.
Well, Mark, when I wrote this next question, and we're nearing the end here, I used the word bet, but like as I look at it now, I'm going to use it, but I'm going to put a little asterisk next to that because I think it was more of a calculated decision. So I'm going to use the word bet, but that's what I really mean. And I said, you've essentially bet Baker's future on the idea that when people have ownership, they perform differently. Why are you confident in Baker in that belief?
Todd, when I look at businesses in our industry, we've got a number of them right now that have brought people from the outside to get involved with those businesses. And the experience I've seen within the roofing business is that has not been helpful. So I think experience and longevity in this business is an advantage that may be unique to our industry. Maybe because of the difficulty of understanding how roofs work and how unique that is, but also the personalities of people that work within the business. So I feel like betting on the people that understand this business and have been involved in this business for a period of time and understand how we do it and what we're trying to accomplish just makes a ton of sense. I also tell you, I think strategically, our goal of growing through repairs and service, growing to re-roofing, and new construction and restoration with a 5-year strategic plan is well positioned. And I see that continuing. I don't see anything to stop us from continuing to grow other than having enough people to do it. I think ESOP, again, attracts people maybe to want to do it. And which is really our limiting factor of growth is, do we have enough people to get it done?
Yeah, people of all different positions too. I mean, we need more people to do the work in the field, more people to on the administrative side, all the different parts and components, types of folks that we have here at Baker certainly need more. So the recruiting aspect has been ramped up. Last couple questions here, Mark, for you. If there's one story from your time at Baker that still makes you laugh when you think about it, what would that story be?
My favorite story is probably the one with Frank in the church. If you're not familiar with this, we had many years ago bought a vac machine to remove gravel from the roof, and that we were doing a ballast removal and then ballast put back at a church. And Frank is in a job site meeting, and our guys are beginning the process of putting the rock back on the roof. And we have the idea that if you put that gravel vac machine in reverse, that it would help put that rock back on the roof faster. And they turned that thing on, it started shooting rock out like a machine, and it took out some of the pane glass windows of the church. And Frank couldn't get them to stop fast enough in his mind. So we ended up replacing those pane glass windows, and Frank had to have a barbecue party for the guys at the GC. So that's one of the stories that always makes me laugh, as I can see Frank walking out of that trailer and his reaction to that. I just can imagine that was Frank had a little passion that day.
Another example of at a loss if we must at times.
Yeah.
Almost, yeah. So,
well, Mark, thank you so much for carving time out with us. I hope that our listeners are going to get a little bit more insight into your heart behind the business, and are encouraged with our future by it. And before we go, we always like to leave our listeners with a little something about yourself. And we'll do it differently this time, rather than like what we did with the other guys, say just ask them one question, one option, give you two. What are you listening to right now? And that could be music, podcast, or an audiobook. Or what are you streaming on TV right now?
Music-wise, I'm a Teddy Swims fan, so I've enjoyed listening to Teddy Swims when I have Pandora on. It's streaming right now. I'm watching the Cowboy series on Netflix.
Heard that's really good. I think Tyler Poole told me, I don't care if you are a Cowboys fan or not, it's actually a really good program to watch. So
I watched an episode last night. It is entertaining, and it brings back memories of that time frame.
I'll be checking out both.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Mark, that's it for this episode of Under the Roof. Thank you for sharing your journey, for helping us understand your heart behind Baker's employee ownership story.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Todd.
Yeah. And listeners, if you're listening and want to keep this conversation going, talk to your teams about employee ownership. It's not just a policy. It's something we're building together.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow the podcast so you never miss an episode. Share it with your crew and everyone in the office.
And remember, we shall do good work, at a profit if we can, at a loss if we must, but always good work. Thank you. That wraps up this episode of Under the Roof. Thanks for joining us and being part of the Baker Roofing family.
If you liked what you heard, share it with your crew. Hit the follow button and keep the conversation going wherever you work.
We're here to keep you informed, inspired, and included, because the more connected we are, the better we work together.
And as always, we'll leave you with this. We shall do good work, at a profit if we can, at a loss if we must, but always good work. See you next time.